Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye Nashtaprayam Shavadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhavati Naishtike. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 15, the saints Narad and Angira instruct King Chitraketu. Text number 20 onwards. Tadav te param jnanam dadami griham agataha gyatvanyaabhinivesham te putram eva dadamyaham. When I first came to your home, I could have given you the supreme transcendental knowledge, but when I saw that your mind was absorbed in material things, I gave you only a son, who caused you jubilation and lamentation. So this is Angira Rishi speaking to King Chitraketu. Adhuna putrina tapo bhavataivanubhuyate evam dara griharayo vividhashvarya sampada shabdadayascha vishayascha chalaya rajya vibhutaya mahirajyam balam kosho भृत्यं मात्य सुहृज्जना सर्वे अपि शूरसेने मे शोकमोह भयार्तितः गंधर्व नगर प्रख्या स्वप्न maya manoratha. My dear king, now you're actually experiencing the misery of a person who has sons and daughters. O king, owner of the state of Shurasena, one's wife, his house, the opulence of his kingdom, and his various other opulences and objects of sense perception are all the same in that they are temporary. One's kingdom, military power, treasury, servants, ministers, friends, and relatives are all causes of fear, illusion, lamentation, and distress. They're like a Gandharva Nagar, a non existent palace that one imagines to exist in the forest. Because they are impermanent, they are no better than illusions, dreams, and mental concoctions. So this is what Angira Rishi is telling Chitraketu, that I came to you, I could have given you transcendental knowledge at that time, but you were too absorbed in material things and you only wanted a son. You had everything. So I gave you. But I told you that it will cause you great lamentation and jubilation. And now Angira Rishi is saying that everything that we have is temporary. Actually, it's very true in this day and age when we are fighting this war against Corona and losing so many relatives and friends, neighbors, so many people losing their lives. But we have to understand it's all temporary. Yes, we get attached, we get very much attached, and this attachment is what takes us to next life and next life and next life. At the same time, if we get attached to Krishna while using these temporary things in his service, then the same sentiment of attachment can liberate us. This verse describes the entanglement of material existence. In material existence, the living entity possesses many things: the material body, children, wife, and so on. One may think that these will give him protection, but that is impossible. In spite of all these possessions, the spirit soul has to give up his present situation and accept another. The next situation may be unfavorable, but even if it is favorable, one must give it up and again accept another body. In this way, one's tribulation in material existence continues. A sane man should be perfectly aware that these things will never be able to give him happiness. One must be situated in a spiritual identity and eternally serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a devotee. Angira Rishi and Narad Muni gave this instruction to Maharaj Chitraketu. So these instructions are actually for us. Maharaj Chitraketu is very, very advanced. We'll read it later. But these instructions are actually for us. We also get so attached. We also run to different sadhus if we don't have a son or a progeny. We do so many things if we want a child, and we get attached to that child. But the whole thing is, even if I hope that child doesn't lose the life like Harsha did, but the situation is same. It's our attachment to temporary material things, and that causes us to take birth again and again and again. And next birth may be favorable, and next birth the following one may be unfavorable. Favorable in the sense we enjoy a lot. I mean, it will be very convenient to live, but the following birth could be very unfavorable. Too many issues, problems, distresses we have to go through. But either way, everything is temporary. Neither the distress is permanent nor the pleasure. But a sane man should be perfectly aware that these things will never be able to give him happiness that he is looking for. Drishyamana vinarthena na drishyante manobhavaha karma bhirdhyayato nana karmani manaso bhavan. These visible objects like wife, children, and property are like dreams and mental concoctions. Actually, what we see has no permanent existence. It is sometimes seen and sometimes not. Only because of our past actions do we create such mental concoctions. And because of these concoctions, we perform further activities. Everything material is a mental concoction because it is sometimes visible and sometimes not. At night, when we dream of tigers and snakes, they are not actually present, but we are afraid because we are affected by what we envision in our dreams. Everything material is like a dream because it actually has no permanent existence. Everything material is like a dream. It has no permanent existence. And we get so affected. When we get more and more, everybody's happy. We are getting so many awards and so many friends and so many followers and whatever. Maybe if we make it big, and TV people will come and interview us, magazines and books will be written about us. It's all temporary. It's like a dream. And if we don't make it big, then nobody will be talking about it. So if we make it big the wrong way, then again, people will be talking about us, but in the wrong way. But everything is temporary. It's like living in a dream. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes as follows in his commentary. At night, one dreams of tigers and snakes, and while dreaming, he actually sees them. But as soon as the dream is broken, they no longer exist. Similarly, the material world is a creation of our mental concoctions. We have come to this material world to enjoy material resources, and by mental concoction, we discover many, many objects of enjoyment because our minds are absorbed in material things. This is why we receive various bodies. According to our mental concoctions, we work in various ways, desiring various achievements, and by nature and the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Karmana Deva Netrena, we get the advantage we desire. Thus, we become more and more involved in material concoctions. This is a reason for our suffering in the material world. By one kind of activity, we create another, and they're all products of our mental concoction. And this Maya, this whole creation Actually, Brahmaji himself was very much ashamed of this creation. He didn't want to do all this, but it was Krishna's order, so he had to do it because he knew what he is creating. This is this is nothing but place of misery, and a person. The beauty of this is, although it's a place of misery, but we still don't want to get out of it. We think we can be happy some way or other by some twisting, some by hook or crook. We think we can manipulate this material energy and we think we can be happy. Since time immemorial, people are trying to do that and nobody has been able to be happy. Look at Indra himself. First, he had to kill Vishwarupa, then he had to kill Vritrasura. So much problem, and how he killed Vritrasura, we have read about it. It was so difficult. And for what? To gain that kingdom, to gain that throne of Indra. And then again, we'll read later, Bali Maharaj will come and he will dethrone him. And then again he will be gone, and then again he will perform tapasya or pray that Vaman Dev had to come and he had to put him on the throne again. If Indra is not happy, he's a king of the demigods. The demigods, we go and worship those who want to worship. He's a king of all the demigods. And he's not happy. How can we be happy? And we think getting all the material benedictions from the demigods, we can be happy. Or by achieving something material, we can be happy. Not gonna happen. It has not happened. It is not happening, and it will never happen. That's how Krishna has designed the material world. Padam padam eta vipadam natesh dukkhalyam ashashvatam. But the living entity, because Jiva is what? Jiva is part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is supreme master, supreme controller, Parameshwara. We also want to be Ishvara. Krishna says, okay, try to be Ishvara of the material world. And we try, we fail, we succeed a little, but we fail, we succeed again, try to be successful, fail again. Only happiness is in devotional service. Every step is a dance, every word is a music, and every activity gives us happiness. That is real happiness. Ayam hi dehino deho dravya jnana kriyatmaka dehino vivid kleshas santap krid udahrita. The living entity in the bodily conception of life is absorbed in the body, which is a combination of the physical elements, the five senses for gathering knowledge, and the five senses of action, along with the mind. Through the mind, the living entity suffers three kinds of tribulations, adibhautik, adidaivic, and adhyatmic. Therefore, this body is a source of all miseries. In the fifth canto, while instructing his sons, Rishabdev said, Asan api klesha da asadeha. The body, although temporary, is a cause of all the miseries of material existence. As already discussed in the previous verse, the entire material creation is based on mental concoction. The mind sometimes induces us to think that if we purchase an automobile, we can enjoy the physical elements such as earth, water, air, and fire, combined in the form of iron, plastic, petrol, and so on. working with the five material elements, Panchabhutas, as well as with the five knowledge gathering senses, like the eyes, ears, tongue, and other, and our five active senses, like the hands and legs, we become involved in the material condition. Thus, we are subjected to the tribulations known as Adhyatmika, Adhidevika, and Adhibhautika. The mind is a sinner because the mind creates all these things as soon as the material object is struck. However, the mind is affected and we suffer. For example, with the material elements, the working senses and the knowledge gathering senses, we create a very nice car. And when the car is accidentally smashed in a collision, the mind suffers. And through the mind, the living entity suffers. So, Adhi Atmik, Adhi Devik, Adhi Bhautik Klesh. So, Adhi Atmik, Adhi Devik is the klesh given by that is controlled by demigods. Adhi Bhautik by others, other living entities like Corona. And Adhi Atmik, when something goes wrong and our mind and our body gives us distress or problem or miseries. And this goes on with every living entity, everybody. And more we are attached to this body, more we are attached to this material world, the miseries will have more effect on us. Like Adhibhautik, now coronavirus is there, we all know. So people are dying. So more we are attached to body, more we will be miserable. If somebody wants to leave his body, even if corona is suffering, he wants to leave. There have been instances. Yesterday only today I was reading about a devotee in Vrindavan. He left his body by corona, and what he was doing, his son wrote that he saw his father was removing the oxygen mask or the pipe, whatever was giving him oxygen, because he wanted to leave. He said, there's no point in living like this. And he said, he had done 30 years of service and chanting and everything he had done, deity worship in Vrindavan. He just wanted to leave. He was not afraid. And when he was leaving, he asked his son, he just signaled to his son, he could not speak, that bring my bead bag. And his son gave him the bead bag in his hand, and while chanting, he left. So death is definitely gonna be there. We cannot avoid death. But how we die depends upon how we live. So Adhibhautik and Adhidevik Klesh will be there, but the Atmik, that depends upon us, how much we suffer. Others, we cannot control. We can only control ourselves, our reaction to it. So just like Prabhupada gives the example of a car is accidentally smashed in a collision and the mind suffers. Now it's up to the living entity or the mind of the living entity, how much it is controlled. And then we can decide how the car is hit, fine, it is hit. Insurance will cover it, or whatever loss I have to undergo, yes, fine. But people get really, really disturbed if the car is hit by somebody, and we have seen people fight, come out of the car and fight, and so many things we have seen. So like somebody said, whatever happens is 5% is the activity and 95% is our response to that activity. That's how the whole incident is summed up. So for that, our response to be proper instead of reaction, we respond. For that, mind has to be controlled. And mind can only be controlled by yoga. We perform bhakti yoga. Those who are Hatha yogis, they perform Hatha yoga. The Gyan yogis perform Gyan yoga. So by bhakti yoga, by chanting, by other activities, we have to be able to control the mind. So we don't react at anything, we respond. And that response will depend upon whatever, how our consciousness is placed. If we are fully Krishna conscious, then if something happens and our consciousness is, yes, Krishna has arranged for this, then obviously our response will be different than somebody who thinks that, oh, this person has done this, okay, I'll get back to him. I'll take revenge. Just like I was reading the other day about Prabhupada. Prabhupada was in Calcutta, and either it was during that war, 71 war was at Pakistan. Either 71 or 65. Yeah, it cannot be 65. So 71 war, Prabhupada was there. and somebody had made kachoris, and the devotees came, Prabhupada, we have to go, it's going to be bombing very soon. And Prabhupada said, well, let me have kachoris. he was cool. Okay, he was like, offer the kachoris and we'll have kachoris, and then if we have to go, we will go. So our mind has to be controlled, and that can only happen when we engage this mind in the service of Krishna. This bhakti yoga process has to be done very, very properly, nicely. Prabhupada further writes, the fact is that the living entity, while concocting with the mind, creates the material condition. Because matter is destructible through the material condition, through the material condition, the living entity suffers. Otherwise, a living entity is detached from all material conditions. When one comes to the Brahman platform, the platform of spiritual life, fully understanding that he is a spirit soul, Aham Brahmasmi, he is no longer affected by lamentation or hankering. As long as the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmbhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. And the lamentation is actually because of either fear of losing whatever we have desired or accumulated, or if we really lose it, then the person laments. But one who is on the transcendental platform, he doesn't lament. And he doesn't desire at all anyway. Elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they're struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entity is actually part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is unaffected by material conditions. But because the mind, mana, is affected, the senses are affected, and the living entity struggles for existence within this material world. So more we try to control the mind by engaging it in the service of Krishna, the testing will be there. More and more rigorous test will be there to see, like they say, when we lose our mind. And Krishna will create, or Krishna's energy, Maya, will create these kind of situations just for us to see how long I can control, or to what extent Krishna gives me that situation that I can control. We read about Haridash Thakura in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He used to chant 192 rounds every day, 3 lakh names every day, minimum. And he was given a sentence to be beaten up in 22 marketplaces. And it wasn't like some child was hitting him. No, it was the soldiers of the Kazi. And they were beating him up mercilessly. We can't even imagine that. If somebody hits us with a stick, forget about the stick. Even if he says something nasty to us, we'll definitely, our blood will start boiling. And those soldiers were beating up Haridash Thakura. They were abusing him. They were using all sorts of foul language to Haridash Thakura. So much so that the people of the market, they came running. They started begging the soldiers not to beat up. He's a very saintly person. Somebody was ready to bribe them. Somebody was pleading to them, please don't beat him up. But they didn't stop. And what was the reaction of Haridash Thakura? He was looking at them, at the soldiers, very mercifully, with full of compassion. He did not retaliate. He didn't even defend himself. So we can't even imagine what kind of control on the mind he had. He did not say anything. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he showed his Mahaprakash Leela, he told Haridash Thakura, I was standing right there with my Sudarshan Chakra ready to cut off the heads of all the soldiers. But in your heart, you were forgiving those soldiers. So my chakra was not leaving my hand. Now that is very, very high state of mind. That is real Brahma Bhuta Prasanna state. Of course, he was not Brahma Bhuta. He was at the level of complete devotional service, complete transcendental. And that stage, we can understand the mind will be in control. So the situations will be there. Situations will come. Adverse situations will be presented by Krishna's energies to test us how much mind, to what degree we can control our mind. And then we understand our limit, and then we have to work more and more. That's all. There is no pass or fail. There's just for us to understand this is my limit, but I have to go further. Tasmat swasthena manasa vimrishya gatimatmana dvaite dhruvartha vishrambham tyajopashamam avisha. Therefore, O King Chitraketu, carefully consider the position of the Atma. In other words, try to understand who you are, whether body, mind, or soul. Consider where you have come from, where you're going after giving up this body, and why you are under the control of material lamentation. Try to understand your real position in this way, and then you will be able to give up your unnecessary attachment. You will also be able to give up the belief that this material world or anything not directly in touch with service to Krishna is eternal. Thus, you will obtain peace. The Krishna consciousness movement is factually endeavoring to bring human society to a sober condition. Right now, we are in a very chaotic condition. Prabhupada says, we are trying to bring the human society to a sober condition. Because of a misdirected civilization, people are jumping in materialistic life like cats and dogs, performing all sorts of abominable, sinful actions and becoming increasingly entangled. The Krishna consciousness movement includes self realization because one is first directed by Lord Krishna to understand that one is not the body, but the owner of the body. When one understands this simple fact, he can direct himself toward the goal of life. Because people are not educated in terms of the goal of life, they're working like madmen and becoming more and more attached to the material atmosphere. The misguided man accepts the material condition as everlasting. One must give up his faith in material things and give up attachment for them. Then one will be sober and peaceful. The Prabhupada said, because people are not educated in terms of the goal of life, they're working like madmen and becoming more and more attached to the material atmosphere. So because we are working so hard to possess more and more things, to make more and more money, we get more attached. So more attached means more desires that are unfulfilled. It only means more births. That's it. So this is what Prabhupada says, the misguided man accepts the material condition as everlasting, and he doesn't want to give it up, no matter what. He doesn't want to give it up. And more we have attachment for material things, more will be disturbed. Even if we have them, we will be disturbed because there will be fear of losing them or somebody coming and taking them away. And when we lose them, definitely we will be disturbed. So what we have to give. This is what there's a nice series of lectures by His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Maharaj, and he called it "Die Before Dying." So dying means, Krishna says in Gita, "Mrityu sarvharashchaham." In the form of death, I take away everything. And Maharaj gave this series of lectures. So die before dying means Krishna is going to take away everything anyway at the time of death. If not before, at the time of death, he's going to take away everything. Why not give up everything? If we give up everything, doesn't mean we give up the things, we give up the attachment for them. And the real way of giving up the attachment is using everything in the service of Krishna. Then basically we have died. Died in the sense socially we are dead, that we have no attachment for anything. We are just trying to use everything in service of Krishna. And first of all, we don't have to advertise it for anybody. And then Krishna knows. Our heart also knows if I'm attached or not. There is no competition. There is no telling others, oh, I'm more detached than you are. No, nothing like that. It's just we have to develop detachment inside. So then the life is very nice, actually. And if you want to hear a more crude example, if you're ready, one feels very, very peaceful and happy and light when he goes and passes the stool in the morning and comes out of the bathroom. So whatever the attachment is, he just gave it up, whatever the things are, and he feels very nice and happy. So material things, like earlier also we read someplace, right? The gold is compared to stool. What kind of stool? Stool of a person who has jaundice. Ew. So, so the attachment to that kind of stool is a part of the problem. So you just have to try to give it up. And that is only possible if we get more and more attached to Krishna. Then we can give it up. Text 27. Shri Narad Uvacha Etam mantropaniषदं praticcha prayato mam yam dharyam saptaratrad drishta sankarshanam vibhum. The great sage Narad continued, My dear king, attentively receive from me a mantra, which is most auspicious. After accepting it from me, in 7 nights you will be able to see the Lord face to face. Only 7 nights. Yadpad Moolam Upsritya Narendra Purve Sharvadayo Brahmam Imam Dvitayam Visrajya Yad Sad Yad Yasti Diyamatul Mahitvam Prapur Bhavanapi Param Nachiradupati. My dear king, in former days, Lord Shiva and other demigods took shelter of the lotus feet of Sankarshan. Thus, they immediately got free from the illusion of duality and achieved unequaled and unsurpassed glories in spiritual life. You will very soon attain that very same position. So Lord Shiva and other demigods took shelter of the lotus feet of Sankarshan. And Narad Muni said, you will also attain that very same position by chanting the mantra that I'm going to give you. So thus ends the 15th chapter. The saints Narad and Angira instruct King Chitraketu. And since we still have time, we can start the 16th chapter. King Chitraketu meets the Supreme Lord.
Prabhuji, which mantra
Yes,
did he
sir.
tell? Is mention of that?
Oh, it will be in this chapter,
Okay.
16th chapter. So don't worry, we have the better mantra or the best of the mantras. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the best.
This is promising 7 days, Prabhu. But it depends on us, our consciousness also.
Yeah, I know. Like earlier when we read about Lord Shiva instructing Prachetas, he also says, I'm going to give you mantra and you will have everything. And everybody was so eager to listen to that mantra. Of course, Lord Shiva gave them. There were a series of mantras. But anyway, we have the best. Hare Krishna Mahamantra has everything. Because all these mantras that are given here, they don't give the loving devotional service for Radha Krishna. Hare Krishna Mahamantra gives that. So even when Narad Muni gave the mantra to Dhruv Maharaj, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and Dhruv Maharaj chanted and followed exactly what Narad Muni said, but he got darshan of Lord Vishnu. He didn't get the loving devotional service to Radharani and Krishna. So by mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers and Srila Prabhupada, we've been given the best of the mantras. All we have to do is chant it properly. That's all.
Prabhu, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Prabhu, you mentioned that we get into miserable condition, and during the process of bhakti, Lord also tests us. So I mean, we understand, and you very nicely said that 90% of the time we spend in reacting rather than acting or responding, and we waste our time instead of attaching ourselves to Krishna. We waste our time blaming others, this and that. So I want to understand this very nice realization, because analysis of our own mindset. So I want to understand, one question I had was, Prabhu, how do we know Krishna is testing us, or we are facing our own uh, reaction of our past deeds. But either ways, we are suffering. But um, and how, I mean, of course, as you said, we don't have to respond. We have to tolerate and try to meditate on Krishna. Maybe this is a mute question, but
Well,
uh,
even if it is a reaction of our past deeds, it is still coming from Krishna. It's not, it's happening automatically.
mhm,
And of course, Prabhupada has mentioned that devotee, when somebody tries to become a devotee, when he becomes a devotee, he comes under the jurisdiction of Krishna.
mhm,
So of course, we don't think that, oh, I'm so advanced that Krishna is orchestrating everything in my life. We have to take a humble position, but nevertheless, uh, even if it is a reaction of my bad karmas, it is a test for me.
mhm.
It is
Yeah.
certainly a test that we have to see where are we at, where are we.
I mean, coming to the level of Haridash Thakur, where he could, pardon those people who were mercifully uh, beating him. I mean, we cannot. If somebody even says, as you said, we get a reaction. We have an animal instinct so much instilled in us that we immediately react.
Yeah,
So we have to.
but we have to tolerate, right? This is what the qualities that Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, right? These are the qualities of a sadhu. Tolerate, tolerate, tolerate. So we just have to practice more and more and more. That's all. And actually, I have posted many times the lectures of Shivani Didi of Brahma Kumaris. Many things I like about her. And one thing that they do, and she has mentioned in her lecture, that in all the centers of Brahma Kumaris and all the followers of Brahma Kumaris, also now everybody has smartphone. So every hour they have a alarm. Every hour for, so that means traffic control alarm. For 1 minute or so, everybody they stop whatever work they're doing for 1 minute and meditate on whatever the instruction is coming, or whatever they have heard in the morning, or I'm a spirit soul, I'm a divine spirit soul, I'm peaceful, and this and I'm that. So basically, it is to remind always that who am I? And I should be acting on that spiritual level, not on the material body level. It's a very good thing they have developed. And if we can also do that, that'll be great. So,
Thank
so
you.
it will slowly become a nature, second nature. And actually, it is the original nature, right? Spirit soul. So we have forgotten.
Thank you, Prabhu. That reminds me of the verse in 6th chapter, Yata Yate Nischalati. So we have to
Yeah.
constantly bring our mind to focus.
Yeah. And now with the technology, we can. We can. One is in the background, kirtan is going on or chanting is going on, and we are working. And one is actively at every hour, just for 1 minute, active, not passively, actively, we remind ourselves. That will definitely help. I guess now the Time is getting over. So if anybody has any other question, comment. Okay, so I guess we'll stop here and we'll start the 16th chapter tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you.
You all have a
Thank you,
you all
Prabhu.
have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare
Yes.
Krishna, Jai Shri
Yes.
Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhupada.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Great.
Prabhu.